Here's my drill press. It's kind of crappy. I picked it up in exchange at a junk dealer. I was trying to recycle some metal, and he had this that he was going to trash, and I told him I'd be interested in it, so we made a swap. It cost me, I think, around $25, and that's probably all that it's really worth. Down here there's a tag that says Montgomery Ward. However, by looking at it and looking at other drill presses I've seen, this looks an awful lot like an Atlas drill press. I don't know that for a fact, but sure kind of looks like one. So my suspicion is that Atlas probably made a cheapo consumer version for sale through the Montgomery Ward chain. It's obviously not the original switch, not the original motor. The slots on the motor mount don't quite match the slots in the drill press. A previous owner built these heavy aluminum brackets to go between the two, which puts the motor at a funny angle. But, you know, hey, it works. The machine has a quill lock here, which is something I've actually used on occasions. And it's got a very rudimentary depth stop indicator here that I'm not quite sure how to work it, other than as it rotates, it's got a scale on it. Never had a lot of luck using that. All these pieces are cast iron. The headpiece here that covers the pulleys, and of course the table and the base are cast iron. So I think I'll be able to drill some holes and tap into this piece back from the quill and the rack and pinion mechanism. I've generally been happy with it. When I measure this collar, I get about 1 3/4 of an inch, and I happen to have a drill bit that's just shy of 1 3/4. It's actually 1 11/16. So at this point, I think the proof of concept is done. These are 2 number 10 screws going through. That one's barely long enough to engage the T-nut, and on that one, of course, I got a little extra. Up on this side, I had to file this flat, because as this comes down, you want that to engage and register against the flat surface. So here's a steel cup that goes on a magnet, and maybe you would want to sink that into a piece of wood. So you start as you engage the flat of the Forstner bit against the block, and now I'm going to lock that in place. You can use the cup washer as a guide. Put it up here, lower this bolt till it engages it, and then lower the locking nut onto that nut. And now when you release the quill, it can only go down as much depth as this cup washer allows. That drill still disengaging. And that is a pretty good fit. This piece of steel is an 1/8 of an inch thick, and it seems to be pretty rigid, but there is a little bit of flex in it. And of course, with the leverage of the drill press, you can get it to flex a little bit. And I found when using this, that's actually a little bit of an advantage. You can kind of hit it and push it a little more, and that seems to give you pretty good results. So here's the finished product. I know it's hard to tell by looking at it, but believe it or not, I made this. It did not come from the factory that way. Here's the bolt. I have 2 nuts here. I put a couple O-rings on some flanged nuts to give me something to grip on as I slide them up or down. It seems to work pretty well. I think this is at a point I'm going to stop. It's either going to be functional at this point or it isn't. Well, it's been a couple months, and I must confess I haven't used this widget very much, but I have used it on occasions. There was a time I wanted to drill a hole about 1 inch deep to put in a dowel, and it was kind of convenient to just use this stop, use the dowel as a guide. And I do think in the future, if you've got several holes to drill and you want them all the same depth for whatever reason, this will certainly give you more repeatability than the cheesy gauge that came with the drill press. So thanks for coming by. Appreciate you spending time in my shop with me, and I hope you got something out of this build. Take care. We'll see you on the next one.